weekend, comunque a partire da tutte le persone che comunque lavorano in autodromo, che sono i primi che ovviamente vanno salutati, in attesa dell'arrivo anche del pubblico. E tra l'altro sappiamo bene che con Radio Bruno parecchie persone ci hanno chiamato, sono interessate e verranno sicuramente a trovarci. Però parlando anche degli addetti di lavori, come sempre, un po' quelli che vediamo qua nella pit lane, i commissari di gara che poi sono un po' gli angeli custodi della pista, quindi un po' tutte le postazioni, poi andremo magari a ascoltare se riusciremo con i tempi ovviamente. E beh, tutti i meccanici della Ferrari. Abbiamo avuto modo di fare una cena ieri sera con alcuni di loro ragazzi e le risate, non posso raccontare tutti i dettagli, ma si parlava di Formula 1 e un po' di tutto quello che è un mondo Ferrari.
Cose magari che non si possono nemmeno dire, poi cose un po' di suole quinte.
Ma magari potremmo, qualche cosa forse diremo, però dai, per il momento è sempre bello essere qua. E poi sai, la musica fa compagnia, cioè nel senso ti fa passare un po' il tempo in un modo diverso. E tra l'altro sì, nei box sono sicuro che ci stanno ascoltando, perché poi sai, poi ci mandano i messaggini, che fate, cosa dite, quindi
Ci sono, tra l'altro, io ti interrompo, che ieri è arrivata anche un'amica, una ragazza del servizio, dicevo che i meccanici erano felici perché lavoravano in compagnia della musica di Radio 1, cioè hanno apprezzato diciamo, i vari brani scelti da Lopez, che qui alla console ci sta ascoltando e sta sorridendo, tra l'altro ieri è stato grande protagonista, per cui Radio 1 è acquistata dal pubblico, lo sarà nei prossimi giorni quando le tribune saranno ovviamente piene per le giornate non feriali, ma ieri i meccanici, i ragazzi che lavoravano contentissimi.
ci sono le chiavi inglesi che vanno a tempo.
Esatto,
Sì,
bravo.
bello perché comunque monti le gomme, riesci a fare. Ma poi ti fa compagnia. E poi abbiamo tante sorprese in questi giorni, quindi
sportivi, siamo nel pieno svolgimento di questa terza giornata di prove e gare per quanto riguarda le finali mondiali 2024. Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari, in programma Parla Chiaro 10:25, Ferrari Challenge. Che vede un nutrito gruppo di piloti. Abbiamo in pole position in questa gara 2 Eric Chong, pilota con la team Formula Racing, pilota canadese di origine asiatica. Il nome parla chiaro, Eric Chong, il pilota che col numero 198 è, ripeto, in pole position. Questa griglia è composta dalla valutazione, quindi sono stati catturati i secondi migliori tempi ottenuti durante la qualifica di mercoledì pomeriggio, quindi primi tempi destinati a gara 1 per quanto riguarda appunto la qualifica di gara 1 disputata ieri, i migliori secondi tempi.
Hello everyone, good morning to you. Welcome to Imola as we continue with the Ferrari Challenge Finale Mondiale weekend. What a celebration we are enjoying here in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. This is what the region looks like and the track looks like when the sun shines, and whilst we don't have blistering sunshine at the moment, we do at least have dry-ish conditions. What a calendar we have had through 2024, from Mugello to Balaton to Jerez to Portimao to Le Castellet and Nürburgring. And here we are now for the final event of 2024 in Imola. So it is the Imola circuit then, and steeped in history and heritage, of course. 4.9 kilometers, 21 turns, 12 of them are left and 9 of them are right-handers. And it's an anti-clockwise direction track with lots of demanding turns for our drivers across the course of the 4.9 kilometers, quite undulating as well, and not many moments for the drivers to relax, I can assure you. Track temperature at the moment is 20 degrees. The air temperature is 18 degrees. Now, quite a lot of rain overnight. It's dry at the moment. I've been talking to various team personnel as I was standing down on the grid before making my way up to our studio. And the consensus of opinion is that everyone running on wet weather tyres. So that's the plan that all the drivers will be taking with the grooved wet weather tyres for this Coppa Shell Am race at Imola.
Here we are in the exhibition area, which tells a lot of pages of the history of Ferrari in the world of the motorsport and Formula One. Come with me and discover what was the protagonist of the Formula One Championship in 1989. Synonymous of innovation, the Ferrari 640 F1 participated in the 1989 Formula One World Championship and was the first to use a sequential semi-automatic gearbox. With Mansell and Berger at the head, he won 3 races and relaunched the Italian manufacturer to the top of the highest category.
Big shout out to Gerhard Berger. I hope you're well, friend. Haven't spoken to you for a long time, but thanks, Ludovica, for giving us another page in the wonderful history of the prancing horse in Formula One. So there you can see all our Coppa Shell Am drivers down there on track. Now the championship is done and dusted. Zois Skrimpias is P1 in the championship. Eric Chung did a good job yesterday. There is still a battle between Eric Chung and Andreas Koenig with regards to P2 in the championship. Who will be able to seal that? Well, we will know at the end of this race. Delighted to welcome alongside me Nico Spalek, who's been with me all season long and enjoying the activities of the Ferrari Challenge. And well, the scene is set, Nico, for the final championship race of the year. There's Arno Dahlmeier, I could see down there on the grid, former Ferrari Challenge racer, and one car very definitely missing from the lineup is that Mutlutazev, Talal Shayer, one of those two missing, you think? Because Guy Favet is definitely there.
Yeah, I think there is good morning, everybody. First of all, there I think the black car is the Mutlutazev car. So
yes,
alongside Guy Favet should have been the Talal Shayer car. Didn't see him there on the track. No information currently on why that car is missing or where it might be.
Didn't see him having off yesterday.
No, indeed, he did finish the race. All right, so we will see 5 minutes to go. And yeah, as you said, this is the final race for the Coppa Shell Am in Europe. And the P1 is decided, and sometimes that gives us a very free race because strategy for the most part is out the window. It's only about this race and doing as well as you can. So we hope for an entertaining one.
Very much so. Talal Shayer actually finished P7 in the race yesterday, so curious. We'll see. Might be starting from the pit lane. No information yet. As I was saying just at the head of the program, I deliberately loitered down there in the pit lane just to see what drivers were going to the track on in terms of rubber. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the rubber that they're going to stay on when it comes to the race. Max Mugelli there now. There you can see slick tyres have come off. And looking at the track conditions from this particular camera angle, I would say that wets is definitely the way to go. And we think that's what most of the drivers, if not all of the drivers, will be taking as they head out on for their 30-minute plus 1 lap race Ferrari Challenge for 2024. Our Coppa Shell Am drivers: Giorgio Sonagiotto, Manuel Agostner, Lucio Vigani from Pirelli. There was Arno Dahlmeier once again. We could see there as we make our way to the very sharp end of the grid, and it's Eric Chung and Roland Hurtner, Henrik Kamstrup and Paolo Scudieri that occupy the front 2 rows. Of course, we will bring you the grid in full when we get our formation lap underway. As always, a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge behind the Richard Mille safety car. There is Eric Chung, and he was victorious yesterday. Got away well, we thought, and then just before reaching the Variante Tamburello, by his own admission, he braked a little bit too early. That allowed Roland Hurtner to go around and pick up the lead, so Eric had to then retake Roland Hurtner, which he did, and ended up being victorious in the race. I mentioned yesterday that Roland Hurtner, in my opinion, has had a stellar season and is richly deserving of a win. Will he be able to do that today? He's had P2 in the last 2 races. You'd like to add P1 to his repertoire, I would suggest, as we look at Mutlutazev there. And Mutlutazev, who finished P12 yesterday. Mutlu has also been on the podium this year. He took a P3 in Balaton in Hungary. Now there's a driver on slick tyres.
Yeah, and that is Roland Hurtner, I would say, from the livery.
I would agree with that. Now there is Shintaro Akatsu definitely on the wet weather tyres. So there are some drivers taking a gamble.
Yeah, and they're also
Alvaro Ramos.
Alvaro Ramos going the risky way, and I'm sure you will struggle on slicks, but depending on how the track dries up, it might be the right choice come the end of the race.
Well, Eric Chung is seemingly on the wet weather tyres as we hear from Zois Skrimpias now.
The winner is the new champion, 2024,
This year was so fantastic. I couldn't expect it to be so good. So at the beginning, we start with my partner Germana of thinking of why not, let's share the car and let's try to do something. Let's see if we can be competitive. So the plan was to half races here, half races me. And then the season started with me and finished with me. All the races were fantastic. I love to race. I really enjoy the car. The car is fantastic. Super easy to drive, very powerful, very, very, very quick. And yes, it was a dream for me that came true. The most important moment for me was the pole position in Balaton, because I need that pole position very, very much, because on the free practice I had an accident, and so my confidence went down, and I try a lot mentally to recover on this, and the pole that I had was the best moment ever.
It was nice to hear from our champion, Zois Skrimpias, who has been a revelation this year. Sealed the championship at the Nürburgring when last we were racing with the Ferrari Challenge. As the cars are released now on their formation lap, we will bring you the grid in full. From back to front, Louis Peruska and Jan Sandman, they go from P18 and P17. P16 for Andreas Koenig, out of position. Hassan Debussy going from P15. It's Josef Schumacher and Shintaro Akatsu, then P14 and 13 for our Coppa Shell AM grid, with Stephen Earle and Narakatsu Shibata on the 6th row of the grid. It's Alvaro Ramos and Mudlu Tarzev going from P10 and P9. It's Talal Shaer, who we feel is missing from the grid. He has Guy Favet alongside. Then it's Zois Skrimpias and Andrea Levy. They are P6 and P5. It's Paolo Scudieri and Henrik Kamstrup, P4, P3. And then to the front row of the grid, it's Roland Hurtner and Eric Chung. So, Nico, with some drivers on slick weather tyres, or slick tyres for dry weather, and some drivers on wet weather tyres, this is going to be very interesting right at the very start of the race. Just before we get into that discussion, let's hear from our pole sitter, Eric Chung. So curiously, no audio from Eric Chung. Eric is such a character that he probably played with us.
And give me more confidence for the finale. So I hope I have a good weekend.
Thank you, Eric. He's a lovely man. So as I was saying then, wet weather tyres, slick weather tyres, Coppa Shell AM, Nico. Yeah, this is going to be a roll of the dice for those drivers that have chosen, because in the early stages of the race, it's still going to be damp.
Yeah, and I think, you know, every driver, every team will have their own strategy. If it were down to me, and all the drivers can be happy that then it's not down to me, I would say if you're at the front of the race, so you have a good position, you would probably opt for the wets, because being on the slicks and sliding around in the middle of a big pack of cars is very dangerous to throw away the race. If you're in the back and actually taking the adventurous strategy and trying something different, you may be better off with the slicks because you have space around you, and if it comes good during the course of the race, then you can slice past the cars who are on wets.
Yeah, so what you're saying actually, for those drivers that are perhaps out of position from qualifying, like Andreas Koenig and Jan Sandman and Shintaro Akatsu, you know, maybe that would be a gamble worth taking. And I completely buy what you are saying. Okay, well, we'll see how it develops. We have 30 minutes plus one lap of racing to come.
Yeah, but however, we saw that Roland Hurtner, apparently, who's on the front row, we think he is on slick, so that's going to be very interesting, and he will maybe have to manage not being collected or picked up by other cars, but it's all conjecture. We will find out. We're only one turn away, or 1.5 away from the lights going green.
And it's interesting because Roland Hurtner driving for the Go Motorsport Engstler team, and I deliberately spoke to Manuel Reuter, team boss, and he said it's got to be wets, it's got to be wets. Well, the driver, of course, can have an influence on that decision, and perhaps that decision was changed as the cars made it to the grid, having done an installation lap, of course. Roland feeling that perhaps slicks would be the way to go. We will see as the cars head towards the start-finish line and the lighting gantry going through this kink. The start-finish straight here is anything but straight here at Imola. Front row, Eric Chung, Roland Hertner. We think Eric is on the wet weather tyres. We're almost sure of that. He will have the advantage at the beginning of the race. Let's go racing. Zoe Skrimpias looking lively. So too Paolo Scudieri. And sure enough, Roland Hertner being mugged right at the start of the race by dint of him not having the traction or grip available to him. Eric Chung leading from Henrik Kamstrup. Then it's Paolo Scudieri. Zoe Skrimpias tucking into that P4 position ahead of Andrea Levy, as they make their way through the Variante Tamburello for the first time of asking. All drivers getting away nicely, and another driver that's made good headway is Andreas Koenig, Nico. He's moved up several places right at the start of this race. Eric Chung just settling himself into this P1 position, and Paolo Scudieri really attacking Henrik Kamstrup. So the rest of the pack come through, and I have to say, a remarkably tidy start, particularly through the Variante Tamburello, where I expected with some drivers on different rubber, it might be something altogether different.
Absolutely. We get the information, start is under investigation. That might mean someone didn't run through their grid boxes. And what we also saw is that Roland Hertner, Mutlu Tazov and Alvaro Ramos, all of which we think are on slicks, they're all at the back of the pack, which I think the team's calculated with that. And especially Roland Hertner, you can see how he was tiptoeing like on raw eggs, really trying to even make the turn. So his race for the first few laps is probably going to be just surviving.
Yes, but as you say, it could all come good in the second half of the race. Only time will tell. We've said it more than once that to get the wet weather tyres to work really well, they've got to be kept wet. You've got to maintain the moisture. And as the track dries out, it becomes ever more difficult to do that because the blocks that the wet weather tyres and the grooves, they don't work as well, and they begin to scrub enormously when the track is drying out. So we will see. It is Henrik Kamstrup currently running in P2. Paolo Scudieri is under real pressure from Zoe Skrimpias, who's up to P4, but it is Eric Chung leading by 1.876 seconds. He is escaping and checking out already in the early stages of this race. Of course, victorious yesterday, would love to add another victory. And of course, he knows, running on those wet weather tyres, he needs to get as big a margin as he can right at the front of the pack now to prevent any interlopers who might be on different rubber to him coming good towards the end of the race. Because if the gap becomes so big, then it is just possible that he can put himself into a position of safety by doing quali laps right now, right at the start of this race. We'll get a replay of the start in just a moment, and as Nico has identified, the likes of Alvaro Ramos and Mutlu Tazev and Roland Hertner were heading backwards with the grip afforded to them, which was not as great. Here it is. So you can see as the cars accelerated away, a number of drivers seemingly with no traction whatsoever, and there you can see Roland Hertner with 3 cars almost overtaking in exactly the same spot, because Roland was defenseless to be able to do anything about that. We're being told that the start, which was under investigation, has been investigated and no further action is going to be taken. So that's good news. So we can get on with racing. We're watching replays of the start sequence right now, and Eric Chung then doing everything perfectly correctly at the start, and finds himself, of course, in the lead of the race. So let's go back to the live pictures now with Eric Chung then rounding the final turn. And there you can see confirmation from our race control team that the under investigation start is no longer, no further action to be taken. So fastest lap coming from Eric Chung on lap 2. But do expect that potentially to change during the course of the race. And Zoe Skrimpias now on to Henrik Kamstrup, having got by Paolo Scudieri. That obviously happened whilst we were looking at replays of the start. So well done to Zoe Skrimpias, and now he's got very much in his target sights Henrik Kamstrup. Eric Chung with 4.3 seconds of margin over Henrik Kamstrup. And Zeus knows he needs to get by Henrik as quickly as possible to have any chance whatsoever of finishing his 2024 campaign. And he's anticipated that move very, very well. He puts himself side by side with Henrik Kamstrup. This could be a change for P2 as they run up the hill, and Zeus Skripjas has got the deal and the move done. Now he will be after Eric Chung. Make no mistake, he wants to finish the season on a high. He's already the champion, but of course, that means nothing relative to this race. He wants to be on the top step of the podium come the end of the race in around about 25 minutes plus 1 lap's time.
Yeah, absolutely. And he wants to build, as he already said, he wants to build the confidence for tomorrow and for Sunday, that he feels like he can go and chase that one title that he hasn't won, which is the title for world champion in Coppa Am. So not necessarily about the race result, but the confidence that he has in himself and the car here on this Imola circuit. Getting P2 is a good step, and he is closing the gap towards Eric Chung, as we can see from the sector times. That interval is coming down. Now the question is going to be Henrik Kamstrup, Paolo Scudieri. What's going to happen for P3? As we watch the sector times relatively to those on slicks, and still the wets are performing considerably quicker, and we will let you know when that flips, if it does.
Yeah, well, we're looking at last lap times, and the fastest lap time was 1:55.167. Stefano Guy, you can see there, who coaches Paolo Scudieri. Be interesting to ascertain what where the number needs to be in terms of lap time for that crossover to become effective. Certainly in the 140s, I would have suggested.
Yeah, right now, Roland Hürtner and the likes are still losing like 3 or 4 seconds per sector, so we're still considerable, and it's almost up to a minute of a gap. But as quickly as that develops over the first 6 minutes, that can go the other way. At some point, it becomes the question if maybe a pit stop at Formula 1 speed would be advantageous, but in Ferrari Challenge, you're not set up for lightning quick pit stops. It's just not the way this series is set up. So coming into the pits for changing tires certainly is not an option strategy-wise.
With every centimetre of tarmac, Zeus Skripjas is taking time out of Eric Chung's gap from P1 to P2. It's down to 3.578 right now. So Zeus is on a mission, that's for sure. So too is Andrea Levy and Paolo Scudieri and Henrik Kamstrup. Whether Zeus made a bit of a mistake there, because he appears to have come back into the clutches once again of Henrik Kamstrup, not jumping away quite as he was. So heavy braking then downhill, Henrik Kamstrup having to take a slightly wider line than Zeus Skripjas. And sure enough, that gap has gone up again, Nico, so I think I identified that correctly, in that Zeus maybe had just a little bit of an off, or made a mistake, or missed a gear or something, because he's lost a bit of time relative to where he was.
Yeah, there you can see the large gap behind Eric Chung, 5.3 seconds as we stand right now. And that means Zeus Skripjas ideally has to avoid getting really into the clutches of Henrik Kamstrup, avoiding that battle slowing him down even further.
So there we have Zeus Skripjas, you can see, who's trying to make haste his escape now as Paolo Scudieri takes a look at the inside of Henrik Kamstrup, and he does it. So Paolo Scudieri moves himself up into a provisional podium place with P3. Andrea Levy also champing at the bit to try and find a way past Henrik Kamstrup, and he does so as well. So in the space of but a few hundred meters of tarmac, Henrik Kamstrup has lost out on 2 places. It's Paolo Scudieri, Andrea Levy now. And we'll keep our eyes on Guy Favet, who is next in the order, if you like, who's currently running in P6. It's Chung leading, Zeus Skripjas setting the fastest lap, but he's got a deficit of 5.5 seconds to try and reel in. We've got 21 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. You can begin to see a little bit of a drier line beginning to develop. Stefano Guy on the pit wall then. Be pleased with his driver up to P3, and there he is, center shot right now. Paolo Scudieri driving the 101 car for Samoka. running downhill underneath the big Finale Mondiali 2024 banner. I remind you that these final challenge races of 2024 are part of the big Ferrari celebration, the Finale Mondiali event, which is renowned for being such a celebration of everything that's great and good about the prancing horse, and in particular the Corsa Clienti programs, of which the Ferrari Challenge is one.
Absolutely, and you can see on the left-hand side, if you just peel your eyes away from the track for a moment, which is difficult enough, I know, but there is a huge area of presentation and exhibition, and there is Andreas Koenig, who's now going for an attack. And that is Dr. Stephen Earle, who he is lining up and trying to get into the Variante Tamburello, getting the right trajectory for an overtake, but I do think Stephen Earle defended that really, really nicely.
Andreas Koenig, actually, we've done him a bit of a disservice because he's made up several places up to P9 now, so well done, Andreas Koenig. Of course, still a battle going in for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. So here we can see Stephen Earle, he's driving the red and white car, and then the car right behind is Andreas Koenig, the 104 car. He's had a roller coaster of a season as Andreas Koenig, ups and downs. And there is Zois Grimpias, who is not able to break away. And Eric Chung has increased the lead to 7.075 seconds. And Paolo Scudieri right now is really attacking Zois Grimpias. So Paolo Scudieri trying to come back here at the driver of car number 168, flashing his lights, hoping to break the concentration of Zois Grimpias just for a millisecond, which would be enough for Paolo Scudieri potentially to take advantage. And Andrea Levy is also looking at this too. Now, I mentioned Guy Favet running in P6. Now, Guy is right on the back of Henrik Kamstrup now. Just see them, and in fairness, Guy has got by Henrik Kamstrup. I can see from the back of the shot, there is the Guy Favet car. And he did make his way past Henrik Kamstrup and has moved himself now up into that P5 position.
Yeah, absolutely. The Formula Racing car of Henrik Kamstrup seems to be not handling well. He's losing like 3.5 seconds per lap for the moment, so something off there. But he is fighting and he's trying to hang on, and there is a replay of an Andreas Koenig move on Dr. Stephen Earle, and he does it around the outside by all appearances, and indeed he has confidence in the grip level on the outside of the racing line, and does that really nicely. And then it's Shintaro Akatsu who's now trying to follow suit.
Well done to Andreas Koenig, moving himself up another position, and look how he's broken away. I mean, Stephen Earle, theoretically a cork in the bottle, as Jan Sandman attacking Josef Schumacher behind as well. So Andreas Koenig then on a mission. He's moved himself up to P8. And Jan Sandman wasn't able to execute the move on the car of Josef Schumacher that we saw at the back of the shot. And there you can see Alvarez Ramos has got by Henrik Kamstrup now. So Nico, you're absolutely right. Whatever is going on with Henrik Kamstrup, beg your pardon, it was Guy Favet, of course, that has got by Henrik Kamstrup. The Guy Favet and Alvaro Ramos cars, very similar in livery, if I can be forgiven for the mistake that I made there. And Zois Grimpias, where he showed so much promise and so much pace, that seems to have gone away a little bit, Nico.
Yeah, indeed, certainly nobody's challenging Eric Chung at the front, and Zois Grimpias for the time being just trying to hold on, and there is Jan Salmon, who has made it past Josef Schumacher now. It is now on the back of the Shintaro Akatsu car. I think it's now fair to say that the strategy on the slicks wasn't the right one. We can see that still at this almost half point of the race, the wet tires are still performing better. The gap is coming down, but it's still... The gap in terms of lap times is coming down, but the overall gap is still climbing, and that is up to 1.5 minutes between Eric Chung and Roland Hürtner, and that seems very unlikely that that's going to change. And now Jan Sandman is going for a move, or is he?
He's got to. He's lining up Shintaro Akatsu for going into the Variante Tamburello. However, Shintaro Akatsu might be wise to that and might close the door on that inside line as they approach that chicane, and sure enough, looks like Shintaro Akatsu is going to do that. As we watch now, Paolo Scudieri continuing his quest on Zois Grimpias. And Zois Skrimpias now having to change his mindset, really, to defense rather than trying to attack, because Paolo Scudieri looking very, very lively here indeed.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that the likes of Alvaro Ramos and Mutlu Tasev have now fallen back so far behind that they're actually back-marking cars, which will come into play for some of those battles when they're being overtaken. And again, that dynamic might change when lap times alter, but that's just something to keep an eye on. There might be traffic on the track.
Very good point, and well made. Thank you for that. So Zois Skrimpias bounces the car over the curbs. And Paolo Scudieri, certainly for the moment, despite valiant efforts, has not found a way past the championship-winning car for now. He takes a look, and actually millimetrically identical lines going through the two final turns, the Rivazza turns, which is where we are right now. Rivazza 2 as Andrea Levy and Guy Favet slide the cars through that second turn. And onto the start-finish straight. Eric Chung now with 9.381 seconds of margin. And, well, here you can see Andrea Levy. Paolo Scudieri's in the really difficult position where he's trying to attack, but also doesn't want to leave himself vulnerable to an attack from Andrea Levy behind him either. And thus far, Zois Skrimpias has been able to just keep an eye on doing what he needs to do and not be too impacted or affected by the flashing lights of the Paolo Scudieri car behind him. And there they climb uphill once again. We're live from Imola with the Coppa Shell AM. It's the second race of our 2024 final event in terms of the championship season. Of course, the world final race is still to come on Sunday as Paolo Scudieri now does go through. Zois Skrimpias making an error, and that opened the door for Paolo Scudieri, who didn't need the written invitation sent to him twice. Yeah. And surely Andrea Levy now, his confidence will have taken a boost, and having seen Paolo Scudieri go through, he knows that Zois Skrimpias is vulnerable, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Zois Skrimpias seems to be struggling a little bit, and there is Andrea Levy. I don't think he made it stick into that turn, and Zois Skrimpias goes around. Was there some contact? Sure, we will get a replay of that, but he's losing out, and also going through is Henrik Kamstrup, who for some reason has refound pace, just put in the fastest second sector of the race overall, so whatever ailed him and his car for some time, it's certainly gone away, and he's back at maximum speed. But Paolo Scudieri, out of all that skirmish, he emerges P2, and not only P2, but P2 with a vengeance and a big gap.
Yes, indeed. Andrea Levy and Zois Skrimpias, we believe there may have been a little rub between the two of them. Certainly Andrea Levy was looking at overtaking in any event. And, yeah, perhaps there was an assist there in Zois Skrimpias going around. We will doubtless see that. Paolo Scudieri, though, big beneficiary, P2 right now. Here is the replay. So Andrea Levy to the outside. I think he just caught the rear corner of Zois Skrimpias. But that is only conjecture on my part, Nico.
Yeah, no clear shot of that. I mean, race control certainly will have a look. We have no indication on our timing screen yet. But I'm sure we will find that. But even if there is a minor touch, it might not be something that race control deems punishable.
No, particularly, you know, the weather conditions are taken into account as well, you know, so they take a very measured look at everything. What we do know is Andrea Levy and Guy Favet and indeed Henrik Kamstrup have all benefited from that, and Shintaro Akatsu, who has got Jan Salmon behind him, ahead of him is Stephen Earle, who is trying to find a way, and Hassan Tabusi is into that mix right now, Nico. So, Jan Salmon is having to defend from Hassan Tabusi, Shintaro Akatsu having to defend from both of them. So this is the fight that is going on at the moment for P9, 10 and 11, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. And all of a sudden, Nico, it's going to be a five-way fight for P9, because trying to join into that as well is the very colourful livery of the Josef Schumacher 296 Challenge car. Jan Salmon all over the car of Shintaro Akatsu. Shintaro, in turn, all over the back of Stephen Earle, who's doing a very good job defending here. He's got every right to defend his track position, but what I can say with some confidence is that the faster cars behind, and we can see that having been proven by Andreas Koenig, who, since being released from Stephen Earle, has moved himself up by 6 seconds of margin.
Yeah, definitely. So Stephen Earle is battling, he is fighting, he's sticking with it, and that's his right, and it's good to see that. But Shintaro Katsu really dearly would like to get by. Because not only because he wants to improve a position, but he also wants to not fall into the clutches of those drivers behind him, and Jan Salmon the first in the queue there. So that's something to bear in mind, and something to watch with just 10 minutes plus a lap remaining.
The incident involving the cars of Zoe Scrimpias and Andrea Levy is under investigation, we are told from race control. I'm hardly surprised by that. Right now, you can just begin to see that patches of dry tarmac, but Nico, you're so right. The risk-reward strategy hasn't paid off because we've only got 9.5 minutes plus a lap remaining in the race, and therefore, with the gap for those drivers that are on the slick tyres, as Jan Sandman all over the back of Shintaro Akatsu. Yeah, the gap is just too great that it cannot be reeled in the space of 9 minutes plus 1 lap. And from a traffic point of view, Eric Chung going to be on them soon, I would have thought.
Well, Eric Chung has overtaken all of those on slicks except for Roland Hurtner, and he's coming up on him, so he's only going to be 2 or so seconds between the two cars who started alongside each other on the grid. So, and there is a update on that investigation that we just saw.
Yeah, Andrea Levy picking up a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. So race control deemed that Andrea Levy was at fault with Zoe Scrimpias, so he can kiss goodbye to his P3 place. That's going to elevate Guy Favet into a podium as it stands at the moment. So here you can see the 171 car of Andrea Levy, who has picked up a time penalty of 10 seconds for causing a collision.
Indeed, and that means the battle, which we could just see in the backdrop, between Kamstrup and Guy Favet is all of a sudden one for a podium position, so that's something to bear in mind. The gap ahead, Paolo Scudieri had just had the quickest lap, so he's reeling in Eric Chung a little bit, but in all fairness, with 8 minutes remaining and 8 seconds of a gap, Eric Chung is just managing the gap in reality. As much as we would like to build more drama here, I think the drama is going to come in that battle between Kamstrup and Favet. And
I just want to make a point. Something you said earlier on about the Ferrari Challenge is not geared up for Formula One style pit stops. Mutlu Tazev has come into the pit lane, and I saw it through the window of our studio. He's come in, wet weather tyres gone on, slick weather tyres or slick tyres have come off. So Mutlu Tazev in the final stages of the race has decided wets are still the way to go. And there you can see Eric Chung and Roland Hurtner together, but Roland Hurtner is actually a lap down, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric Chung just went by with ease, and that just underscores that even with only 7 minutes remaining, the wets are still significantly quicker than the slicks. But you know, sometimes you have to take a gamble.
We've seen it. We've seen it, and we've seen it pay off so many times previously.
Indeed.
Eric is definitely. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Look at him. He's chasing out and checking out where the dampest parts of the track are, where he can keep those tyres in a good operating window, because they need to be kept cool and damp.
Yes, indeed. I mean, he's still going and trying to stay on the racing line as much as possible, but where it is possible, he tries to see where there is still moist part of the track and maximizes that use with 6.5 minutes plus a lap remaining. That's really the only thing realistically that can catch him out, as some kind of issue with the wets who are not made for the state of the tarmac that they're running on.
But I think you're right. I think that there are still sufficient damp enough patches of the track that are going to be able to keep them in. Look at this, Guy Favet and Henrik Kamstrup, who are fighting over what will be the final potential podium place here. And Zoe Scrimpias is not out of this either, Nico. So, Guy Favet for Scuderia FMA is currently running P4. That will become P3 because of the time penalty that Andrea Levy is going to get. And has been got. But Henrik Kamstrup knows that. And so he is chasing Guy for all he is worth. And as I say, Zois Skrimpias is not out of this either. So this nominally becomes a three-way fight for P3 as Henrik Kamstrup tries to get to the outside of Guy Favre. Is not able to do so. Zois Skrimpias is now even closer to them. So it is now a fair-on three-way fight for what will be P3 potentially. Well, not potentially, definitely. Because of that penalty that Levy has picked up.
Indeed, however, it's actually a four-way fight because Andrea Levy, he is stretching his legs. Last time around, 2 seconds quicker than Guy Favre, and they're up to that lead is up to 7 seconds. So if he can stretch that lead even further over the remaining 5 or so minutes, he might even stay in P3 in spite of the penalty. So the plot thickens, the drama increases, and the more Guy Favre and Henrik Kamstrup battle, it actually puts them in a disadvantage because of the gap to the front increasing.
I hadn't picked that up. You're absolutely right. Thanks, Nico. You're right. He is just getting away and getting away. And yeah, that could yet play into the equation come the end of the race. Extraordinary stuff. With 4.5 minutes remaining, plus 1 lap to go. This is the Coppa Shell Am race, which I have to be honest with you, Nico, as the cars were making their way to the grid with the conditions the way they were, I felt there could be some real drama in this race. To be fair, credit to the drivers who have conducted this race thus far with immense competence. Well done to them all. Eric Chung from Paolo Scudieri, from Andrea Levy, Guy Favre, Henrik Kamstrup, Zois Skrimpias, Andreas Koenig. Then it is Shibata and Sandman and Earl who are P8, 9 and 10. So Henrik Kamstrup then really filling the rear view screen of Guy Favre with the electric blue colours of his 296 Challenge car. Zois Skrimpias just being altogether a little bit more measured, I think, and just letting that fight go on, and perhaps being in a position where he could just pick up on the hard work that Henrik Kamstrup is doing in trying to get by Guy Favre. But he is beginning to run out of time now. 3 minutes, 4 seconds, and 1 lap. That's all there is. Eric Chung with a 5.7 second margin at the lead of the race. So the incident involving cars 127 and 104 in turn 7 is under investigation. Well, that was clearly Andreas Koenig and Norikatsu Shibata. We didn't see that. We see the replay of it now. Andreas Koenig diving to the inside. Think there was a gap there from the camera angle that we saw, but race control will take a look at that and think if that was a bit bold and ambitious. Any decisions that are made following that investigation, we will advise you of them.
Yes.
Guy Favre, this has been some brilliant defensive driving from him because, you know, Henrik has really piled the pressure on. And now, Henrik, once again, it's on this uphill climb. Henrik seems to have slightly better traction out of that turn, slightly better momentum going up the hill. Here is Hassan Debussy then on Stephen Earl in replay. And that sent both the cars round in pirouette. Again, there was a gap there initially, but Stephen then turned in probably at the place that he would ordinarily turn in, and Hassan Debussy was there, having spotted the gap and gone for it.
Absolutely. I mean, for Andrea Levy, any safety car intervention would be dramatic because he's now built his lead to 10.7 seconds. So in spite of the penalty, he's provisionally still P3.
Yep.
A safety car or any slowdown or bunching the cars up would take all of that away. Eric Chung crossing the timing line, 1 minute and 10 remaining. That means next time he passes that spot, it will be last lap.
So the remainder of this lap plus 1 more to come for Eric Chung then, Formula Racing driver. Super slow-mo here as he throws the car over the curbs and controls it. A little bit of drift, but he's got it all perfectly under control. Could it be 2 out of 2 for Eric Chung? in the final races. Where's Andreas Koenig? Currently P7. The reason I'm questioning that is because the points between Eric Chung and Andreas Koenig as to who will be P2 in the championship. And championship won by Zois Skrimpias. That's already confirmed and done. Paolo Scudieri now is coming under pressure from Andrea Levy. Andrea Levy with that time penalty, but Andrea Levy, having got sufficiently up the road from those behind him, is almost within attacking distance of Paolo Scudieri. And Henrik Kamstrup and Guy Favre, well, they've been like this for lap after lap after lap. And the incident involving Hassan Debussy and Stephen Earle is also under investigation. Our race control team are pretty busy this morning. Guy Favre, having defended this position so well, it is P4. Here comes Henrik Kamstrup again with good momentum uphill, but Guy just places the car in a defensive way to deny Henrik Kamstrup the opportunity to go through. Yeah, now he gets to the inside, but again, it's been real nip and tuck between these two drivers, and it's been really enjoyable to watch. And probably Henrik is quite frustrated. Guy, I have to say, has kept his cool and calm, which is typical of his character, and has defended really, really well. So we are on to the final lap. It's now or never for Henrik Kamstrup to move himself up from P5 to P4. He dropped pace at the beginning of the race, but it's all come together again now. Taking a look into the first chicane. Again, Guy is able to place the car absolutely perfectly to give him the right trajectory through that chicane. And Henrik Kamstrup now, he's almost welded to the back of that 296 Challenge car as Stephen Earle has come into the pit lane, presumably having suffered damage from that incident earlier on. Corinne Chung looks on. Time penalty for Hassan Debussy of 10 seconds for causing a collision,
which actually prompted Steve Earle to come into the pit lane, so he certainly sustained damage there. So very unfortunate. And but let's focus on that battle for the remainder of this lap. Can Henrik Kamstrup do something about it? It's only for P4 because Andrea Levy is far enough up the order. But is it an overtake done?
He's done it. He has done it. It was a slight error from Guy Favre, who ran a bit wide, and Henrik Kamstrup was there like a viper ready to pounce. And he did it. And I have to say, now you can see the pace that he has got. He's just up the road. Here's Eric Chung and Roland Hurtner,
who's just put in the fastest lap of the race, so it took until now to come good, but it's all too late. He would have to overtake him twice, and we're on the home straight.
And here comes Roland Hurtner then. He's now got the better rubber underneath him, but Eric Chung makes it 2 out of 2 for the final 2 races of 2024 for Coppa Am in the Ferrari Challenge. Brilliant job done. The strategy to run on the wet weather tyres clearly was the right one because it has taken right until the final laps for those slick tyres to come into their own. Eric Chung is victorious. He takes P1. His wife Corinne is utterly thrilled. I spoke to her earlier on this morning. Paolo Scudieri, it's a very good P2 for him. P3 for Andrea Levy, even though he had got a time penalty, and Henrik Kamstrup with that P4 place after many laps of fighting with Guy Favre, who takes P5, Nico.
Yeah, indeed, a very, very eventful race. A back and forth affair with the likes of Henrik Kamstrup slowing down considerably for a time and then coming back. I mean, Eric Chung, nothing to fault with his race. He had the perfect strategy and the perfect driver executed it to perfection, and 5.9 seconds are what's in the record books at the end of the race. He managed that for the second half of this race, and he will feel very confident about the rest of this week and the world final race. Paolo Scudieri, very, very good pace. Andrea Levy, I mean, respect for because when he got that penalty, he was like 5 seconds up, and he added 8 more for the rest of the race, doing quali lap after quali lap. And it was only Roland Hurtner at the very end who took away that fastest lap. That's where the slicks came into good, but that was way too late to make something happen for the race overall.
Well, nothing if not entertaining as always, the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am drivers. Thank you to you all for what you've delivered this season for us. Of course, it's not the last we'll be seeing of these cars across this Finale Mondiale event, because they have their world final race to come. So we'll bring you the full and confirmed result in just a moment or so. In graphics, there it is. Eric Chung, victorious from Paolo Scudieri and Andrea Levy. Those are the drivers you'll see on the podium. Ahead of Henrik Kamstrup, Guy Favre, Zoe Skrimpias, Andreas Koenig. And then it was Jan Salmon. Then it's Norakatsu Shibata, Shintaro Akatsu, Josef Schumacher, Louis Peruskia, Hassan Tabusi, Roland Hurtner, Alvaro Ramos, Stephen Earl, Mutlu Tarzev, and Talal Sher. Not classified. And Eric, once again, Nico, on the top of the car. Steady on, friend.
Yeah, this is shaping up like a weekend, or a week actually, of Eric Chung festivities.
Yes.
There is Paolo Scudieri also very, very happy, visibly happy. Stefano Guy there congratulating him. He did it, and he had a much more eventful race than Eric Chung did.
Yes. And Andrea Levy, as you say, some remarkable driving given the penalty that he'd got. The Formula Racing team and Mr. and Mrs. Chung complete the framed photograph there.
Absolutely. And Formula Racing, they are Coppa team champions, so they're the most successful team of this season already. So they're only adding more trophies.
So we will be hearing from our race winner. 2 out of 2 here at Imola for Eric Chung, driving for Formula Racing. And there you can see the approach to the Variante Tamburello, and the hands device and the crash helmet is given into the care of Mrs. Corinne Chung. And Eric there will be hassled and hustled by Ludovica, who you can also see in the picture there, who's waiting to interview him. And so she has got her man right now. Let's go down to Ludovica, who is with our race winner, Eric Chung.
Congratulations, is out of the sun for celebrate this win, the last of the season. How do you feel?
I feel very great. At the beginning, we are discussing should we use slick tire or wet tire. My coach said wet tire. So although the last part is really slippery, but I think everybody is slippery, so I managed and finished. It's a good race. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Eric. So even he was undecided to go with wets or slicks. Coppa Shell Am race then, the highlights. And several drivers on slick weather tyres then finding out that the slicks were not the way to go right at the start of the race. Eric Chung, choosing the wet weather tyres, is able to convert the pole position into P1. A real battle going on between Henrik Kamstrup and Zoe Skrimpias. And Paolo Scudieri also getting the better of Henrik Kamstrup as he began to go a little bit backwards. And Andrea Levy would be in the clutches of being able to take a position away from Henrik Kamstrup as well, and that's exactly what he did, going through that left-hander and climbing uphill. Andreas Koenig all the way around the outside of Stephen Earl. That was a big, bold move, but it was a big, bold move that paid off for the Coppa Shell Am star. And Paolo Scudieri and Zoe Skrimpias still involved in a real fight here, and Paolo Scudieri going very, very well in the 101 car. And he was heading towards a potential podium place. Unfortunately, Andrea Levy and Zoe Skrimpias got together. Now, that caused a penalty for Andrea Levy, and Andreas Koenig also finding some strife out there. And he wasn't the only one, as Stephen Earle and Hassan Tabusi went around also. So Henrik Kamstrup, after lap of being stuck behind Guy Favre, finally found his way past. But it was going to be another fine victory for Eric Chung, the second of the final 2 races in 2024. He was victorious with Paolo Scudieri P2. So we're going to be heading up to the podium in just a few moments' time, where we will be seeing Eric Chung, Paolo Scudieri and Andrea Levy. I love the podium here and the screen backdrop, which is remarkable. Finale Mondiali 2024 here in Imola. So Andrea Levy then making his way to step 3 of the podium. Paolo Scudieri then with a richly deserved P2. And on the top step of the podium, 2 out of 2 in the final 2 races of the season, Eric Chung.
Well deserved.
Baseball caps are redonned by our podium, as Tor here from Formula Racing is going to be part of the podium celebrations as well, representing the team for the Coppa Team Award. As here we go with the trophy presentations. A warm welcome to Ferrari factory driver Giancarlo Fisichella, making the trophy presentation first of all to Andrea Levy. Next up, it's Paolo Scudieri in receipt of his P2 trophy. And then, of course, Eric Chung. It's another one to add to a very, very big trophy collection that Eric Chung has in his possession through many fine racing results. Tor from Formula Racing receives his Coppa Team trophy as well on behalf of the team. Everyone gets to the top step of the podium for the photographs to be taken at this Finale Mondiali event here in Imola. And then who will be winning the champagne race on the final race for Coppa Am in 2024 with regards to the championship, but still, of course, the world finals to come. It's Eric Chung, who's the winner of the champagne race as well. Congratulations to all of our drivers. It was the Rosso Corsa racer Andrea Levy that took P3. Paolo Scudieri then for Samocar takes P2. And our race winner for Formula Racing, Eric Chung. So we'll take a look at the Drivers' Championship standings then, as Eric Chung secures the second place in the championship, with Andreas Koenig taking P3. Zoe Skrimpias, the champion, of course. Andrea Levy finishes P4, and Jan Sandman finishes P5 in the Drivers' Championship. Well done to Jan in his first year of racing in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Am. Rest of the championship standings there, as you can see. So many drivers have taken part in the Coppa Am category, and a big thanks to all of them for delivering some great racing across the season of 2024. Of course, their world final race is still to come. From Nico and from myself, thank you for being there. And we look forward to more racing to come across, not only today, but the next 2 days as well here at the Finale Mondiale event from Ferrari. From us for now, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.